You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? It's John Nabors coming to you live from the, I don't even know, I need to figure out some kind of studio name for what I have going on here in my setup for the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. But I decided that as after I got to the trip home to Little Rock, that I was going to do just like a quick reaction video, and I can see y'all commenting in the comments to react to the win. I wish I could have done it a little bit sooner, but traffic and all that stuff and exhaustion. I sweated so much today. It was so warm outside, but it was still a good time. And I just wanted to give some of my thoughts and opinions on the first win for Arkansas of the 2022 football season. Now, I'm gonna do a more in-depth breakdown, obviously, on my actual podcast. So if you haven't subscribed or anything like that, be sure to do that. You can subscribe wherever podcasts are found, and we can have that through YouTube or whatever you like or prefer. But I was there at the game, and I was there in the north end zone, and I was sitting with some friends. And I if you've listened to the podcast and you thought about, what I thought the game would be, it obviously wasn't what I thought it would be, or at least what the final score was. And some people were like getting mad at me during the game. They're just like, "Oh man, you're stupid. You're like, why would you say this?" It's like, it's a prediction, man. Like, I don't care. I was wrong. Yeah, that's fine. I thought that Arkansas would do a lot better than against Cincinnati. But honestly, like, I think that that's just more of a credit to Cincinnati than not necessarily what Arkansas was unable to do, which, again, there's a lot to unpack here, and there's a lot to try to discuss and figure out. But one of the things, though, as far as some stuff that stood out to me in this game, first off, the crowd was awesome. The amount of people that showed up to the game was really cool, because I know it was a hot day for everybody, and especially for those of you on the east side of the stadium, just sitting there in an oven with the sun beating down on you. Like, that's not easy for anybody to do. And I understand that. I respect that. And I was very, very pleased with how all that went, and how everybody showed up to the game and really did a good job with that. So that's a huge shout out. But honestly, we'll start with the offense, because I think there's a lot more about the defense that we can talk about. But I'll start with the offense. I honestly thought that Arkansas would be able to run the ball down their throats completely. I thought that they would be able to be in control of the game from beginning to end when it comes to rushing the ball. And it's not to say that they did a poor job in it or anything like that. It's just, I think Cincinnati really showed the type of great defensive line that they had up front. And like, just the defensive front in general, I think was really showing out, and really, like something that I was truly impressed by. And so as the game went on, I kept thinking, I'm like, well, maybe Arkansas is going to start wearing them down. Maybe they're going to find some open holes here. And they did. I mean, there was a few times, because obviously, like, Rocket Sanders had 20 carries for 117 yards. So he had a really good game. KJ was your next leading rusher, 18 carries for 62 yards. AJ Green got in a little bit. Rashad Dubinian, I think that's how you say his name, he's a true freshman. He got in a little bit. So you rushed for 224 yards, and that was on 45 carries, which is about an average of 5 yards a carry. So overall, I did not think that it was too bad of a deal. I didn't think that it was like some sort of major concern. I just thought that Arkansas, especially on the offensive line, would have a little bit more success of getting a push on Cincinnati. But I think, again, that goes to the way that Cincinnati planned, and the way that they're very physical up front. And knowing that Luke Fickell is a defensive coach, that was a really good thing from Cincinnati that I saw that gave Arkansas problems. KJ, had a great game. He goes 18 to 26, 223 yards, 3 touchdowns through the air, 1 touchdown on the ground. Obviously, the MVP of the offense. You could maybe say Rocket Sanders, and throw him into the mix, which I would hear arguments for it as well. But KJ did exactly what you would hope out of KJ. There was even a couple of throws there that he missed that I thought he should have had, like some ones that he would normally have, at least in a lot better position. But for whatever reason, he missed it, especially that one in the end zone. I believe it was Warren Thompson when he was just coming over the coming over the middle there, and he threw the ball like 10 yards behind him. When I'm like, man, he had him right there in stride. Normally, a throw he would make. But that was really one of the very few things that I thought that KJ didn't do a very good job at. But other than that, he had a great game. I think that Trey Knox, of course, okay, we can talk about MVPs. If you can throw Cherry and Knox in there, you can say definitely he's an MVP too. 2 touchdowns, his first multi-touchdown game as a Razorback. I kept hoping, as again, if you listen to the podcast, I kept hoping that we would see him evolve into that tight end position and really make some really great adjustments, really great strides in the tight end position from last year, especially now that he ended up bulking up and everything. But all those things together, I was just like, that to me would be the best thing for it, of best case scenario for him. And he really did a great job. Like, you can tell that he may be a tight end, but he's still a wide receiver by nature. Still got really great hands, made some really great catches, and ended up being the leading receiver for Arkansas, not only in catches, but in yards and in touchdowns, where he had 6, 75, and 2, respectively. So I was really impressed by Trey Knox and Matt Landers and Hazelwood, like all of them, all the big wide receivers there, and even the tight end with Trey Knox. They all looked really good. I thought seeing Hazelwood get in there and had that really great touchdown catch was really cool too. So I thought that was big. But overall, the offense I didn't really take much issue with. I'm not saying it was perfect, but you go out there, you score 31 points. That fumble was bad from Arkansas down there at the 3-yard line, which we'll talk about defensively and the great stand that they had. And so, like, the offense, it'll be good. It'll be fine. It'll get better. But the defense is really where the problems begin to arise. Because Arkansas, like, listen, you gave up 24 points to a top 25 team. That's not like the end of the world. That's not a stat. That's not a number that just shows the complete and total inefficiencies of this defense. I mean, for crying out loud, you held them to 0 points in the first half. Like, they didn't even score in the first half. And then in the second half, it got a little bit different there. And they started taking care of business, especially in the third quarter. But overall, the defense showed that they do have some concerns. Now, the defensive line was a bit of a concern already going into it. It showed promise, though. Like, there were plays out there where, whether it was the big strip sack or, sometimes when they hit the quarterback, like, there were times that they really looked good in those pressure situations. And then there were times where you were just sitting there and you're wondering, like, okay, are you guys going to tackle, or at least going to get any sort of pressure on Ben Bryant? Didn't really feel like it was getting that, or didn't really feel like it was going that way. But that was kind of another thing too, where I was just like, golly, he just is back there in the back, just picking and choosing whatever he wanted to do and throwing the ball wherever he wanted to throw it. And I was just being frustrated by that. And I'm just saying that's a defensive line problem. It's just a pressure problem. But the D line, I think, will be okay. I really do. I think that there's pieces there. I think that there's guys that are really going to develop and get better as the season goes on. They did a good job of stopping the run, honestly. I mean, if you look at it just from the statistics, Cincinnati only ran the ball 31 times for 113 yards. That's 3.6 yards a carry. So they really didn't do a whole lot there running the ball. So I thought that the defensive line did great. I thought, honestly, the best players of the defense for Arkansas were Bumper Pool and Drew Sanders. Like, Drew Sanders, you saw him get a sack. A couple sacks, actually, and just you can see the game-changing ability that he has. And Bumper Pool doing his thing. Like, the linebackers, to me, was the best unit on the defense. They were able to get out there, get a bunch of tackles, and make a bunch of plays, and be in great position, all of that. But the secondary is really where I was completely and totally disappointed. But it's not about just the disappointment in the defense, but it's about, or the secondary, but it's about how the game transpired. Because what happened, first off, is you have injuries to Jalen Catalon, which we don't know the extent of. But it seemed like once he went out of the game, the whole secondary really changed in a major way. Now, I'm not saying that they were perfect before then. I'm just saying that it seemed like take another step to struggles whenever Jalen Catalon went out with that injury. And then you had Miles Slusher go out after taking that big hit, which seems like Sam Pittman, we said that he thinks he's going to be okay, but we don't know the extent of that one either. It looked bad. It looked really bad. But that was not an ideal situation. So you had two of your starting defensive backs out for the game and possibly be out later. We'll see. But that hurt, and that really took a toll and made an impact there too. I think Dwight McGlothern had a really nice game with that nice pick in a major position where Arkansas needed that. So that was big. Hudson Clark, say what you want about the guy, and everyone knows I'm a fan of him, but I'm just going to keep saying it. Like, he was honestly probably the best cornerback of today. I'm not saying any of them played perfect because they didn't, but some of the burnings that happened that Arkansas had where it was just in a bad way. And honestly, they were lucky that Ben Bryant overthrew some guys because there were some guys that just burned our defensive backs and would have been a touchdown if they had a better quarterback or at least a better throw to them. And that was really bad. So you had those guys out there. I know that they threw in some other guys into the mix too. Like we saw Breeny get out there in the safety position. You know, Simeon Blair was out there. He did all right. Ladarius Bishop did not look good at all. He looked like he really had some struggles there too. There was just a lot of pieces about this defensive secondary where it was just like, it shouldn't be this bad. Like, it shouldn't be to the point to where they're just getting beat at every turn, and they're giving up big plays after big plays and giving up third down conversions. And there's no, like, it's man coverage, but yet they're so far away and so separated that nothing comes close. Like, all of that is a problem. And the injuries to that is what makes it even more concerning for me for Razorbacks going forward this year. Like, I just can't like feel comfortable and feel confident about them going forward and thinking that, like, okay, well, yeah, without Catalon, without Slusher, they'll be fine. I don't know about that. Now, it's something that they can improve upon. It's something they can get better at, because I think that development happens throughout the season. And I just believe that it's going to end up being okay. Like, I'm not sitting here and saying, well, after game one, this defense sucks and they're going to be horrible and all these quarterbacks are going to pick them apart. And who knows, maybe there'll be times where they get picked apart. But I just think that it's fixable, but it's going to really depend and be determined by the health of Jalen Catalon and Miles Slusher, especially Catalon. Like, you got to have him out there. So it's just funny that we talk about the major issues we have with the defense when they only gave up 24 points, but giving up 325 yards passing from Ben Bryant. Yeah, that ain't going to cut it. There ain't no dice there too. So, but special teams were fine. That was fine. The penalties, there was a few here and there, but nothing too major, nothing too much that stuck out. I did not understand how in the world a team like Cincinnati had so many helmets coming off. Like, what the crap was that? I think it was like 10 times where they had a helmet pop off. And honestly, I started thinking about, like, so maybe since they don't want to fake injuries, what they're going to start doing is just having the helmet come off. So that way they get like a free timeout, and yeah, they have to come out for a play, but come back in. That may be the kickers. They just start losing their helmets and end up getting that extra timeout. I think that's my conspiracy behind it. But there were so many weird things that happened where they were just like losing their helmets right and left. I just did not understand it. So that was annoying. I was trying to think of anything else that like randomly stood out, because I'm going to read some of y'all's comments here in a second. I was trying to think of anything else that really stood out to me from any other like perspective. Arkansas is big. That's what I do like. They're big. Like, they're big everywhere. Big tight end, big wide receivers, big quarterback, big running backs, big linemen, big D linemen, big linebackers. Like, they're big everywhere. So I love seeing that. They looked really good. I'm trying to think of anything. I thought the play calling was fine from Kendall Briles. I like the creativity I started putting in, especially in the third quarter. So I like that. I liked the decision making by Sam Pittman at times, whether to go for on fourth downs in certain situations. And, they didn't really have to do anything like that, but I like the decisions that he made. Yeah, I mean, you're going to take the win no matter what. Let's be honest. Like, anytime you can beat a top 25 team at home, we're going to celebrate that and we're going to enjoy that. And I think all the team and all the players and all the coaches, like they're going to celebrate it for sure. But there's just things, things I want to see a bit better. But here's another thing. And again, we'll start with the comments after this. My hope is that if you remember in year one under Sam Pittman, you played Georgia in that COVID year and you had a really good first half. You were leading at halftime, but then you lost pretty handedly in the second half. And then the next week you went on the road to Mississippi State and won your first SEC game in like 20 tries or whatever it was. You played so much better from week 1 to week 2. Last year, you struggled against Rice in the first game. You were down at halftime. Ended up having issues there. You played better in the second half. You ended up winning, but then the next week you get Texas and Fayetteville, and you just absolutely destroy them. You curb stomp them. The improvement from week 1 to week 2 was extremely evident. And so that's what I'm hoping is going to happen again here in year 3. Yes, it did not look great at times. Yes, there are concerns. Yes, there are things that need to get shored up. I think we're all in agreement there. But I do believe that this coaching staff and Sam Pittman is going to develop these guys and get them improved dramatically from game 1 to game 2 to where South Carolina comes into town, which they won today, but South Carolina did not look good. I know it's one game, not trying to overlook them, not trying to disrespect them or anything, but South Carolina looked extremely pedestrian against like an FCS opponent or wherever Georgia State's at. I think it was Georgia State. It's like, whatever they are. They looked like crap. And so I'm not scared of South Carolina. And honestly, after seeing Cincinnati, I'm like, this might be one of the 4 best teams Arkansas faces this year on their schedule. Like, obviously, Bama's number 1. I think BYU is going to be up there. I mean, honestly, you can make an argument just right now. We'll see how the season goes, but you can make an argument that Cincinnati may be the top 3 of quality opponents that Arkansas has. But we'll find out. We'll find out what this season's all about. South Carolina comes to town, 11 a.m. in Fayetteville. I like Arkansas's chances, especially from the development, and the things will change. So I feel pretty good about it. They just got to shore up some of the small stuff too. Let's see some of your comments there. Let's see. This comes from Udius, I think it says. He's like, Whoop Sui, enjoy your videos. Keep up the great work. Hey, thanks, man. Fishman says, at least the run game dominated the final drive. Yeah, they stepped on the throat and they finished them out. They didn't blow the lead. They didn't choke it away. They just stepped on the throat, made the plays when they needed it the most. And KJ was, of course, a big part of that. And so that was huge too. Let's see. So can I actually show these? I'm trying to think. I'm new to this streaming thing, folks. So you're going to have to. So if I show these comments? Oh, look at that. I can show the comment. How cool is that? So this comes from Ben. So that way I don't have to mispronounce your name. So yeah, this comes from Ben. It says the defense front was way more physical than I expected. Yeah, I thought that they actually did a better job being physical. But it just, again, they needed more. They needed more pressure. They needed more getting after the quarterback in some situations. And yeah, I agree with you, though. I was a lot more physical. Let's see, KJ missed those throws because he was cramping in his leg while throwing those passes. Injuries, I think, are like somebody brought up to me, was like, oh, I just don't like the abuse that KJ's taking there on these plays. And I'm like, he's a quarterback. He plays football. Like you don't want him to get hit all the time, but the more you get hit, the more you get used to it. It's just the way it is. Let's see. Going here from the Fishman says, sure sucks that Catalan's health didn't hold up longer than it has. Will probably be a nagging thing all year long. Hopefully not. Like, we'll see, because we don't know the extent of it. It could be good, or it could be good news. It could be bad news. But I'm just going to wait on to see what actually happens. Because again, we got to have him in there. He has to play if Arkansas is going to be a big part of and having a great season this year. It's coming from Montana. He says, great analysis, John, and excellent content as usual. Hey, thanks, man. Says, what do you think of our D-line? Why do people hate on Hudson Clark so much? It looked like he plays solid. I said this before. I thought the D-line, the only thing that the D-line, and this, again, not a D-line problem, just the lack of pressure on the quarterback at times was really annoying. But I thought that the D-line stopping the run was incredible. Like, and people were like, there's another guy behind me. He's just like, they're getting gassed, or run defense is terrible. I was like, dude, they're averaging 3 yards a carry. Like, I'm sorry, you're playing a top 25 team. We'd all love to just shut them out completely and dominate them, but they're a good team with a good coach. Like, they're going to get theirs. So I'm like, I don't see that as like some major problem. I thought that they did a really good job. And why do people hate on Hudson Clark so much? that's the question I've been asking forever. I don't understand it. I don't like it. Hudson Clark was the best cornerback Arkansas had today. Now, some of you be like, well, I ain't saying much. Fine. But he was the best cornerback that Arkansas had today. So, Country Boy says Jalen Catalon out for the season. You don't know that. Nothing's been confirmed yet. So just wait on that. Nice to stumble on this live chat. Woo Pig. Yes, Woo Pig to you too. Make sure it's only 2 O's, though. 3 O's is crap. We don't do 3 O's around here. Hog says, loves how some fans forget where we were 3 years ago. I will never forget that. I can tell you that. Some fans may, but I never will. Ember says, Hornsby and KJ could be lethal going forward. Let's see if they can get more and more going on with Malik. I'm not saying he needs to play more, but we saw him just getting a play or two. And, that was pretty much it. Let's see. So Hawk says, what a great bucket hat. Thank you, man. This thing came in handy today because of the sun. I'm exhausted. And I haven't. I'm exhausted too because I walked so much today. I walked from Baum Stadium. No, not even Baum. I walked from the track facility next to Baum to the game, and then went around and tailgated and went to various places, and then walked all the way back. So I'm exhausted, but that was fun. But thank you. Yeah, it's a great bucket hat too. Let's see. Great analysis. Hogs definitely need. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Let's see. This comes from Caden. He says, what do you think about the hit from Cincinnati on the punt return? Couldn't believe there was no flag. I get football's physical, but it basically is defenseless. Okay, so I'd have to see this replay again because at the time they're in the stadium, I thought it was crap too. I thought that they should have called a penalty on it, but what was that? Gotta stay hydrated. But I need to see the replay because some people were saying that the ball hit the ground before he got hit or after he got hit. And if that's the case, it's nothing. But I don't know. I always thought the rule was that you got to let the punt returner catch the football and he can't hit him. So I'd have to go back and looking at it. So let's see. It's come from Slim Piggins. He says, I saw Cat walking, talking, joking on the sideline. I heard the opposite. I'll go back and listen again. Okay. He's not out for the season, or at least it's not been announced. Nobody knows that. So don't start the rumors. He's not. Until we'll find out probably Monday when Sam Pittman meets with the media. But we're not starting that crap. Let's see. What's more impressive? Bryce Young, 6 touchdowns, 5 running with 1 against the Cupcake, or KJ Jefferson's 4 touchdowns against a good quality team? We all know the answer to that. It's definitely KJ. Bryce Young. I don't even know about that. Digging the post-game show. Thanks. I believe that too. I'm enjoying it as well, although I'm tired. Leon says, I believe we pass rushed more than we should have. I'm stupid. I can't read. I believe we pass rushed more than we should. We put more pressure on DBs. And we did. And I think that was another problem too. It's all together. It's not anybody's just fault. It's a whole thing there too. Let's see. Got it from Keaton. He says, we lived through Austin Allen, Ty Story, Hicks Starkle getting demolished weekly. KJ had plenty of good protection majority game. Yeah, he really didn't get hit until those final that plays where he had back-to-back sacks or whatever. He almost had a safety. Yeah, that was crazy. Jeremy says, you mentioned the new blindside tackle being a penalty. I watched several games with no flag thrown. Yeah, I saw that too. So I'm wondering, I was like, that rule I brought up, maybe they're not enforcing it, or maybe that's I completely misunderstood it. That's just very possible. But yeah, that was crazy. Let's see. Goes to Dustin. Says Landon Jackson's gonna be a beast. I like Landon Jackson. I do too. He's big. He's very big. So I like his silent thing. Locked on Auburn says Arkansas is going to lose to Auburn in Jordan Hare Stadium. Okay, well, y'all may not even have a coach by that point in time. So I think that you just need to pump your own little brakes there, Zach. Mr. TW says, putting this into perspective, this was like a bowl game at the beginning of the year. We're testing out a lot of new players and schemes. This win makes it more confident than a 10-2 season. I thought it was funny what Sam Pittman said after the game, where he's just like, I'm so glad that game's over. I never want to play them again. I never want to face them again. He's like, I'm glad we won. And I'm kind of the same way. If that game, I honestly, truly believe, and I said this last week, if this game was played later in the year, I would not feel confident about it. But since you caught them right here and, in the early part of the season, that's something that really benefited and really helped out. Let's see. This comes from Devon, however you say it. Blocking penalty against JCat was complete garbage. Yeah, since I was there, they don't show replays as much. I need to, Need to check it out and see what was going on there. Again, I have to look at the replays. DVs mean more speed. Yeah, they do. Well, we all need more speed, don't we? I need more speed. I need more speed. Let's see. Suspicious says, do you think we'll be better in 11 a.m. games this year? Well, by George, we're going to find out this weekend because it's an 11 a.m. game. I don't know. 11 a.m. games are just tough in general. I hate them, and I know players don't like them either. So, like, it could happen. Jacob says, you may have already discussed, but what do you know about Jalen and Catalan's and Slusher's injury? I know what you know. Like, the only thing I got at Sam Pittman is that he says he thinks Miles Slusher is going to be fine, and then he doesn't know anything about Catalan. Take that for what it's worth. Man, I'm so thirsty. Let's see. Also, Hogs says there's obvious work that needs to be done, but very happy with how we looked overall. Rocket and Drew Sanders are going to cause some problems. Yeah, I think so too. The Sanders brothers, the guys who are on Out of Bounds each and every week of Rocket Sanders and Drew Sanders. Yeah, I really like where they're at. I'm liking what we're seeing out of them, and hopefully we continue to see it too. Low hit on alignment is a penalty. Yeah, okay. So if it's that play, then yeah, it's like you can't do that. I'm not saying it's the greatest rule ever, but you just can't do that, man. You can't go low on the lineman. You just can't do it. You got to absorb the blow, I guess. I heard that Slusher will be fine. Yeah, we just talked about that so too. Keaton says, if you had one new guy, freshman or transfer, that impressed you, who would it be? I mean, Drew Sanders was very impressive to me. I mean, I thought that he really did a good job, but we all kind of knew he would. I think Landers and Hazelwood did great. Like I thought that all three of those guys like are living up to the expectations so far in week one. And trying to think that Jordan Dominic transfer, I believe from Georgia Tech or whatever. Yeah, he was. He looked really good too. So I'm hoping that they would get better and continue to be a part of it. Jeremy says, you think College Game Day and being in Austin next week is a better matchup than us with the Gamecocks? I mean, it's Texas and Alabama, right? So, I mean, what do you mean a better matchup than us with the Gamecocks? Like, it's going to be Bama and Texas. I honestly, again, we'll see. We'll preview the game against South Carolina. But my very first impression of South Carolina is not a very high one. And I think Arkansas, if they can shore up some of the things that they had going on this past game, I think they'll win that game pretty easily. But it's 11 a.m., so it always makes me nervous and scared and all that. Yeah, Rashad Dubinian. Again, I hope that's how you say his name. He looked good, too, at times. And I can't wait to get him back. Dominic Johnson. Like, people forget just how good Dominic Johnson was last year. And he's just a big-bodied back. So I'm waiting to get him back, too. Hopefully it's sooner rather than later. Let's see. TW says, Luke Fickle was saying that our D gave – it's just funny when you say it that way. Our D gave them a lot of looks that they were not prepared for. Oh, jeez, I'm terrible. D-line look legit. Also, since he's a P5 team, they belong in the Big Ten. They played us harder than Pedo State in Florida. Yeah, they did. Which player surprised you the most with their improvement? Which player am I surprised by an improvement? I mean, it's hard to tell in one game, but to me, it's Trey Knox. I mean, dude was awesome. Had good blocks, had great hands. Like, to me, he was the most impressive guy on the field from his improvement from last year to this year, not only physically, but also there at the game too. So I think it'd have to be him. Trey Knox was awesome. Like, he's such a guy that's easy to root for. I love that dude, and I hope that he continues to do big things. I remember Pittman saying that McLaughlin, he thinks he's good and he's lived up to it today. Yeah, I think McLaughlin and Hudson Clark are your best cornerbacks. I do. That nickel spot, and we'll see what's on with Slusher, but that nickel spot's going to be tough because Slusher was a big part of that too. So I want to see him. Let's see. Call Bama on a blowout. Oh, for against Texas? Yeah, I mean, I do too. They're not going to lose that game. He broken the ankles of the Cincy defender on that one play. Yeah, talking about Dubinian. Yeah, he did. That was pretty nasty. Let's see. Well, now that we saw Dubinian, which called a four-handed monster now? No, not yet. I need more than one game. There's potential there. There's a lot of potential there. But no, I need to see a lot more than that, than what we saw. Now, it could happen, but maybe. Overall, John, are you more confident in your 10-2 record pick, less or unchanged? It's a good question. I'm unchanged. I still think 10-2 is possible. Because again, I just think that Cincinnati was that good. Like, I really do. I really think that Cincinnati looked as good as you could ever expect a team that lost as many as they did, being in a college football playoff game last year. Like, they had a lot of SEC caliber players on their team. Like, they recruit really well. Luke Fickell's a dadgum good coach. And I think that once they join the Big Ten, there's not going to be a whole lot like drop off. It's not like they're going to have a tough time transitioning. They'll do just fine. So I think it's more about Cincinnati. And I believe that for Arkansas's sake, they'll be like, if they really make that jump and improvement against South Carolina and they look really good and they win that game pretty nicely, then I'll feel as confident as ever. Because I feel like once you get off to that start, and then you'll have the Missouri State game, which should be one you take care of business with. But if you start out that way and then go into A&M, because A&M did not look impressive today. South Carolina did not look impressive today. Ole Miss really didn't look that impressive today. And I know it's week 1, so it's hard not to just jump to conclusions and say, oh my gosh, like how big is this? Like, I know it's tough. Like, I get it. It's tough to get to that point. But just I don't know. I just don't think that. I feel like there's a few teams that are actually not going to be that good this year that Arkansas will be just because they're better than. That's what I believe. People keep talking about any news on Catalan. No, we don't know anything yet. Rattler looks mid already. 2 picks against Georgia State. Yeah, like the people out there that think that Spencer Rattler was going to go from Oklahoma and be a better quarterback at South Carolina is just kidding themselves. Like, that's not happening. That's not going to happen. Now, I'm not saying he won't be good, but Spencer Rattler is not going to go to South Carolina and be better than what he was at Oklahoma. Like, that's not what the deal is. My hot take may be Dubinian better than Green. Okay, that is a hot take, but we need to see more. I like AJ Green. We need to see more there too. Let's see. From Jeremy, how do I feel about the Florida win? That I called that one. That was a called play, and I called it, Chuck. No, I did call that one though. People looking at me crazy. I'm like, I don't know. I really liked Billy Napier last year. I thought LSU should have hired him. I really liked him as a coach. He seemed to just get it, and I thought Florida got a steal with him. And I know that Dan Mullen left behind a lot of talent, and Anthony Richardson's an incredible quarterback and athlete. So I don't know. And then going to the Swamp. I just like their chances, and they looked really good, and Anthony Richardson looked really good. So that's a huge win for Florida. And honestly, the SEC, it just continues to show that the SEC, like the way that Georgia dominated Oregon, it's the SEC still the best conference, and it's not even close. Like, not even close at all. Let's see. Something from Hogs says, I think our offense blows up South Carolina's defense. Was not impressed with them tonight. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not impressed with them either. I know it's game 1. I don't want to make too big of a deal out of it, but it's just like, yeah, I don't think I'm not too concerned about them. I'm not too concerned about South Carolina. Again, I think that Cincinnati's a better team than South Carolina for sure. And Arkansas won. If we can just make sure that Catalan's good to go, if you can get Catalan and Slusher back and they're good, they're fine, I'll feel tremendous about it. Like, I'll feel tremendous about their chances. Because South Carolina, again, they just don't look good. And Shane Beamer, I actually liked him at first, but I don't know. Like, seeing him when they got that punt block for a touchdown, and the way he acted on the sidelines as if they just won a championship was the weirdest thing. I'm like, I get passionate and all that, but you just look weird. I don't know. So I'm not fully on to the South Carolina stuff just yet. Let's see. He's come from Greeny. He says, how do you feel about Malik at the wide receiver package looked? I mean, it was fine. I know that they're just going to be throwing him out to, do various passes and like wide receiver passes possibly and all that. But I like to see him get more involved. I know he ran the ball once too and looked good with that. He's a really good athlete. He's really fast, but I want to see more out of him. He actually had, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Hazelwood he had on that touchdown. Then he decided to tuck and run, which tuck and run worked. But I was like, man, I'd really like to see that touchdown if that would have worked. Hamburger says, have you seen any clips of Bama night? Yeah, they scored 55, but they got shut down in the third and fourth. No, I have a good friend of mine that's a Bama fan, and he actually told me and said that he was mad because the backup quarterbacks looked like crap. And I'm like, you are living in a whole new atmosphere and a whole new universe, man. Like you're just a crazy person. Jason says, what concerns me the most about Catalan's injury is the fact that it was a no contact play. We know he only likes to hit, and with that shoulder is glass, so that doesn't bode well. I'm being optimistic. I'm hoping for the best because I saw him actually after the game walking off when the game ended. He didn't have any pads on, but he also wasn't in a cast or anything. So I'm feeling better about it because he wasn't in a cast. He wasn't like in pain. He looked like he was having a good time. I'm hoping that maybe it was just like a precautionary thing. That would be my hopes on that. Let's see. Well, based off what I saw Luke Jones and I do so well tonight, most of the pressure came from the left side. Yeah, but that's the thing is like I'll feel fine about it. Like they'll be fine. Like the offensive line under Sam Pittman with Cody Kennedy is going to be fine. They may not always be perfect, but they'll be able to get it done and they'll be able to move it. Let's see. Thoughts on Mississippi State from Jacob. I actually have to check the score since I just got in. I know it was Mississippi State was winning and looking pretty decent doing it. Oh, yeah. So they're up big, 42-16. Yeah, Mississippi State, man, they're going to be a team that's going to win 8 games this year. I think they're an 8-win team, maybe even 9. I actually know probably 8 because their schedule is way too tough, dude. Like they got to go to Arizona, to LSU. Then they get A&M, Arkansas, at Kentucky, at Bama, Auburn, Georgia, and then at Ole Miss. That's a gauntlet. That's an absolute gauntlet. And so I think that they look good, and I think they'll be good, but this is the brutal schedule and everything too. So let's see. Just a few more comments here. Brian says, what are your thoughts on Cincinnati player interview? Keep the helmets on today. Oh, yeah, we talked about that. That was the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. That's what I was saying. I'm like, I think my conspiracy is that they're just trying to they're trying to take timeouts. You know, instead of faking injuries, they're faking their helmets coming off. So that way they get a free timeout and they get to slow down the clock. That's my hot take, my conspiracy theory behind the whole thing. Josh says, I would have liked for Green to have gotten a few more carries, but it did upset me with that knockout. Kickoff out. It would have been nice to see what we could get a few bad times. Yeah, I mean, there are a few things that'll I want to see more of and see change, but that's just games. I thought that Arkansas should have gone down the field more. I feel like they didn't go down the field enough. Especially with somebody like Matt Landers, who seems to be a big play guy. Like I just felt like they never went down enough. But who knows? We'll see it more against South Carolina. Josh says I would have liked AJ to get more carries, although the kickoff for him. Oh, that's sorry. I read that same comment. It's embarrassing. Greeny says, what are your thoughts about the increase of blitzes by Odom? I like it because that's you wanted to go after a new quarterback when it's loud there, try to put the pressure on him. I like the blitz packages. They just got to get there. And that's where I feel like it's going to be better. Like that, again, I can't tell you that Cincinnati offensive line was really good. Like that's a really good offensive line. I bet you dollars to donuts we're going to see so much improvement this next week against South Carolina. Like just crazy things you'll see and almost make you be surprised by it all. It's just me. I feel like ESPN is giving us more respect, but Kirk Herbstreit's just giving us shade. Like, I mean, listen, I don't care if ESPN gives us respect or not. Screw them. Like, they're never going to give us respect, even when we deserve it. So I don't care if they do or not. As long as they put our games on TV and as long as they keep paying us the money for it, I'm fine with it. Dude, Josh Pate is Jack. Josh Pate he was supposed to come on my show and he kind of screwed that up. So I don't know. He's in the doghouse with me. Catalan's personal foul was garbage. He hit a guy in his midsection and the guy was injured and he came back up for one play in his trauma. Yeah, whatever. That's just the way it kind of goes with some of that stuff too. So, but anyways, guys, gents, ladies, whoever, I am exhausted and I'm not drunk. No, I just drove from Fayetteville like as fast as I could. And so, no, I am not drunk. I am just extremely tired and I'm extremely sticky and I'm extremely tired, like just still hot. I still can't get cool down. Like, I don't know. It's whatever. So, but thank you for watching out for me. So I'm gonna try to do these. We'll see. I love the responses from all of you. Thank you so much for watching this, because again, it's just a lot more fun when we can talk about and end it that way. So, but I'll continue to maybe put some things out, and I like the little comments that we can do and post them up too. It makes it a little easier, and streaming it makes it easy too. So, but yeah, thank you all of you to watching this, and it's just nice to be 1-0. Hashtag 1-0. So hopefully it goes 2-0 and everything. But appreciate all of you listening. Again, subscribe to Locked On Razorbacks podcast, YouTube, wherever podcasts are found. We'll have a great show, and it'll be a great Labor Day weekend. I'm gonna go get some sleep. I'll shower first, then get some sleep, then probably, I don't even know. I'm exhausted. I'm delirious. Whatever it is. It was a late night last night. You know what I'm saying? And then just, getting back here is tough. So Hamburger says move to Fayetteville, John. Maybe one day. Who knows? But either way, appreciate everybody. Have a great night. Woo pig. Hogs by